I already created a project 6 folder and it's empty. I'm going to go here. Let's see. You can go to CD project 6, clear it out, and here let's go ahead and install. I want request and Gradio. Again, we've already installed those, so it should be pretty quick. Next, I'm going to go ahead and do a step 2, which is new file. Save this file as customer underscore support underscore bot.py. So that's my file. It's saved here, and here I'm going to first start with importing our libraries. I will say import request. Next I'm going to say import Gradio as gr. Next let's create the DeepSeek API URL. Here I'll say Olama URL equal to HTTP localhost 11434 API generate. That's what I'm going to use. Next, let's create a sample FAQ database. So let's say if you have an FAQ database, you can use it here, but I'm going to create a sample one. I'll create a dictionary where I'll say if it's order tracking, you can say you can track your order by logging into your account and navigating to my orders. If it's return policy, I'll say we accept returns within 30 days. We'll say customer support contact. You can reach customer support at support@example.com or call us at 1-800-555-1234. If it's payment methods, I'll say we accept Visa, MasterCard, PayPal and Apple Pay for secure transactions. If it's related to shipping details, I'll say orders are processed within 24 hours. Standard shipping takes 3 to 5 business days. Close this. Next, let's create our chatbot response function, which will take user query and will process it here with a prompt. I'm going to say prompt equal to find the best match for the FAQ database for the customer query, this query that I have, and I'll say available FAQ is list FAQ database, this database dot keys. I'll pass that to with this prompt, and I'll say provide a response based on the closest matching FAQ based on what user have entered. So based on the user query, it will pick one of these items from this list, and then that's the response that we want to return back. Create my payload again. DeepSeek R1 prompt is what I'm passing here, stream equal to false. Next, I'm going to get the response by saying request.post. I'll give the URL, Olama URL, JSON payload is what I'll pass here. And if the response.status code equal to 200, I'll say AI response equal to response.json.get response based on what the response came back, or I'll say I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for that. Next, return FAQ-db.get AI response. So from this FAQ-db, I need to pick depending on which one the prompt provided back. I'll say dot lower AI response, return the AI response or predicted answer based on what was provided. I'll give that. Next, if there was an error, I'll say return sorry, I couldn't process your request. Now let's test the customer support chatbot by saying if name equal to main, as a sample query is how can I return a product. It should probably go and give me the return policy in this particular case. I'll say print chatbot response, and I'll say print chatbot response with this sample query. I'm going to go save this file, and then our last step or step 3 is to say Python customer support bot.py. It will run this project. It will go and call this, provide this prompt where it will give the user query our different FAQ database keys here, and then it will try to get a reply from DeepSeek AI about which one is the right one, and based on that will be returned back, and that's what I should see here. It says FAQ provides the necessary, so it says return policy. The FAQ provides the necessary information on how to initiate and manage a product. So it says return policy, which means it got me this answer. Again, the response is pretty dominant here. That's why I didn't exactly pick the item from there. It just picked the AI response, but as you can see, it kind of picked return policy. I'll probably have to make it more appropriate to just pick the right item from the list, because it's in the response, it's giving me the entire structure here. Or another thing I can do is I can pass this entire query to the AI, DeepSeek AI, and then it will provide me the right response based on what is picked from there. So it's perfect. We have the app running where we tested the customer support chatbot to our application, to this project. And as usual, I'm going to comment this out and move this a little bit to the bottom. And here on line number 40, I'll start writing the interface. So I'll say first, create radio interface equal to gr.interface. Next, I'm going to say function is chatbot response, which is this function. And then I'll say inputs equal to gr.textbox, lines is to placeholder ask your customer support question. Next, I'm going to say outputs equal to gr.textbox, label equal to chatbot response, title is AI powered customer support chatbot, description is ask a question and the AI will respond with the best matching FAQ answer. Close it. I'm going to go ahead and launch the web app. If name equal to main, I'll say interface.launch. So I'm going to go ahead, save this, go back here, clear this out, paste this, run it, and it should give me a URL which I can open in Chrome here. And here I can ask a question. I can ask the same question and it should give me the same type of answer for return policy. So I will say, where is it? Here. I'll copy this and I'll put it here, submit, and it should give me the return policy back. It took a few seconds, and as you can see, it says response. The return policy provides detailed information about the steps to follow when returning a product, including eligible criteria, requirement, documents, and any applicable. So now I can use that and then just get from the return policy here the values that I have here. So that's the next step for this. And in the return section where it's returning me the sorry I couldn't process the order, or here I'm sorry I don't have an answer. Instead of that, I can probably have more like return I'm sorry I couldn't find an answer, please contact support@email.com for further assistance. So this is what you should probably be doing mostly. I'm going to go ahead and comment this out. The thing here, by saying find the best match for the FAQ database for this customer, I can say I can kind of modify this best or provide a response based on the closest matching FAQ in language that can be passed as a query. I can just say language equal to English here, something like that. So default to that, and in the prompt itself you'll have to probably specify the language that you want the reply. Save this, go back here, close this, clear it out, and first I can say pip install fast API UVCon. These are two libraries that we need. It's installed, clear it out. Next thing is creating a file called app.py here, and in here from fast API import fast API, import requests app equal to fast API. So this will create a fast API app. Next, the Olama URL is localhost 11434 API generate. Next, let's create the endpoint or make it post endpoint with chatbot, and I'll create the function chatbot response based on the query that is passed. Payload is model DeepSeek R1 prompt answer customer query based on the query that is passed false, and I'll say response equal to request.post Olama URL JSON is payload. I'll say return response.json get response no answer available. And to run this API, so I have this by basic default, but you can add all these extra functionality in here, but I'm just going to run it with this in my terminal here, and it's running now. So I can just copy this here, and to call this API I will go ahead here, create a new, make sure it's post slash chatbot slash, and it needs a query. Also query is how do I get order for my status, or get status for my order. Send. It's going to call that API again. It will work fine. It will give me I'm not looking for an FAQ item here, but you can create that list of items here, and then accordingly, depending on the response that we get from DeepSeek AI, we can accordingly pick which one you want to display here. Go ahead. Oops, I'll go and make sure that, so go back into this here and look and wait for a few seconds. And there you go. It took a few seconds, and then I have my response here based on the solution. I said consider reaching out directly or using payment processor sites if platform specific features are unavailable. By following these steps, you should be able to locate the status of your order efficiently. It gave me a bunch of different reference number lookup, log into your account. So it gave me a bunch of different options, which is based on some of the standard techniques that are available online. So there you go. We have our answer here, and I hope you were able to follow along and build the application and also the API here.
Now, first, to install dependencies, I've already created a project 7 folder. In here, I'm going to say pip install request, which we already have. We have Gradio. This time, I'm going to install something called as speech recognition and py text to speech x3. That's what I'll need. I'm installing them. They've installed. Perfect. I've done this before, so already, so it was pretty quick. Next, I'm going to go ahead and clear it. And now let's go ahead and create a Python script. I'm going to go here and I'll say new file. I'll save this file as ai_assistant.py. And inside here, let's start first by importing import request. Next, import Gradio as gr. Next, I'm going to import speech recognition as sr. And then I'll import pytts-x3, which is Python text to speech x3. For next, I'm going to say DeepSeek API URL, Olama URL equal to, I'm going to use the same generate API. Next, I'm going to say text to speech engine equal to py text to speech x3 initialize. This will initialize my Python text to speech, which will convert my text that I get from DeepSeek into actual audio. So I'm going to go ahead and create a function AI assistant, and it will get text here as an argument. Next, I'm going to create my prompt, which will respond to this query as a personal AI assistant, and I'll pass the text there. For the payload, I'll say model DeepSeek R1, pass the prompt, stream equal to false. Response will be request.get Olama URL and the payload that we have here. Next step is if response.status equal to 200, I'll say AI response.json get whatever the response is, or else I'll say I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for that. Next, I'm going to go ahead and convert the text to speech. I'll say engine.say whatever the response is. Next, I'll say engine.run and wait. Next, I'll return the AI response. Else, I'll say return sorry, I couldn't process your request if there was an error. Next, let's go ahead and look at how does a voice command function look like. I'm going to create a function here, listen command. I'll say recognizer equal to, this is the speech recognizer that we have, dot recognizer with sr.microphone as source. So this will pick up your microphone and say print listening. So you know that is listening for your voice. Recognizer.adjust for ambient noise source. This will make sure that there's no ambient noise and make sure that it just listens to your audio. And I'll say audio equal to recognizer.listen to that particular source. I'll say try command equal to recognizer Google audio, print user command and return the command. Except these are exceptions that might happen here. I'll say unknown value error, sorry I couldn't understand that. Another one is request error. I'll say speech recognition service is unavailable. So this is how you might write a listen command functionality. Now I'm not going to use that, but I just wanted to be here so you can see it if you have to use it. Next I'm going to say test AI assistant, if name equal to main, I'll say sample query, tell me a fun fact about space. That's what I'm asking. I'm going to say fun fact about space. Next I'm going to say print AI assistant response, and I'll say print AI assistant sample query. Perfect. So that's my entire application here. So this will run, it will call that AI assistant function and it will pass that text to it and read out whatever response comes back. This time I will not have to read it, we'll hear it out. So let's go ahead here, make sure it's saved. Say Python AI_assistant.py. I'm going to run it. It's going to run and call that URL, and if you see my Python audio file is opening up, I'm going to increase the volume so we can hear what response we get.
Alright, so the user asked for a fun fact about space. I need to come up with something interesting and engaging. First, what are some popular topics in space? Black holes, comets, space travel, maybe something that's both surprising and educational. I remember hearing about Oumuamua, an object that visited Earth before. It was mysterious because it was moving fast and didn't look like a spacecraft or comet. Wait, wasn't there evidence that it might have been from outside the solar system? That seems intriguing enough for a fun fact. I should check if this is accurate to ensure I'm not spreading misinformation. Yes, Oumuamua was discovered in 2017 and has been studied for its unusual trajectory and composition. That makes it perfect for sharing as a fun fact because it's unexpected and sparks curiosity about the origins of such objects. Think. A fun fact about space is that the object known as Oumuamua, which traveled through our solar system in 2017, was observed by astronomers. It passed Earth at an incredible speed of over 24 miles per second, about 38,640 kilometers per hour, and appeared to be neither a comet nor an asteroid but something entirely mysterious. Its trajectory suggested it might have originated from outside the solar system, which has led scientists to hypothesize about its possible origins, perhaps even extraterrestrial in origin.
And there you go. So we have our solution. It gave me this printed here, but also it read it out to me, which was pretty impressive. So that's how you can create an AI assistant over here. Now comment this out as usual, and then go here and start writing my code here for this. So create Gradio interface. Here I'll create the interface gr.interface, and again I'll say AI assistant input equal to gr.text box lines equal to 3, ask anything. Output is text, title equal to AI powered personal assistant, description, type a query or use voice commands to interact with the assistant, and I'll say live equal to true. So it can listen, it can kind of be live for us. Next, to launch the app, I'll say if name equal to main, I'll say interface dot launch. So that's perfect. So that's our application. Now to run this application again, I'm going to go here, clear it out, run this one more time. I'm going to open a browser, open a new tab here, go back to my terminal here, copy this, paste it here, and to this I'll probably ask the same question, which was, where was that question? I'll said here, commented, right? Tell me fun fact about space. I'll go here, add that, and it's sending now, and it will receive and it'll give me the data back based on the question that I've asked.
Think. Okay, so I need to come up with a fun fact about space. Let's see, what do I know about space? Well, it's really vast and full of interesting things.
I'm gonna cut it short. I'm gonna quit this, force quit, and then make sure that it doesn't keep on going, because here is what it's gonna read. Fun fact, a disintegrating comet fragment might become visible as a shooting star if it enters Earth's atmosphere after breaking away near our orbit. Something totally new, even though the question was same, of course, because it's AI and it gives us different answers every time. So I hope you were able to follow along and get this thing out. I killed the application, so that's why it's not working anymore. But again, as you can see, you can enter a question or you can speak out here and then it will give you an answer back. So that's perfect. So the assistant code, I'm going to close this, go back here. Assistant code where we have the prompt, more like I'm going to write this prompt here, where I can say act as a personal AI assistant if the user asks for weather, fetch data, otherwise respond naturally to the text that is there. So something like that, simple as that, can give you weather API or weather data. Next is I can write a small snippets here, something like this, where it will say while true, which means this application is constantly running. Command is equal to listen command, so this will call this function to listen, and every time you say hey AI in command.lower, it will convert that into lowercase. It's a response equal to AI assistant command and print response. So it's going to listen to your voice and then kind of ask you the next questions. So that's how you can have that in the prompt. You can kind of say for here, you can say, let's make sure that this is commented, prompt respond in the language that is passed along with here. So this is another way of having multi-language support, where it will talk in the language that you have specified there. Here I'm going to go ahead, and if you remember, we need pip install fast API and uvcon. So I'll add those, so that's installed. Next step, I'm going to go here and I'll create a new file, save it as app.py, and inside here I'll start with importing fast API from fast API, Next, I'll import request. I'll create the app and initialize it by calling fast API. Olama URL is localhost 11434 API generate. Next, to create the endpoint, to create the assistant, I'll say app.post assistant. I'll say function AI assistant text and string payload equal to model DeepSeek R1 prompt AI assistant response will be text and stream false. Next, I'll say response equal to request.post Olama URL and the payload that we have. Next, I'm going to say return response.json. Just convert the response into JSON and get me the JSON variable, or it will say no answer available. So let's go ahead and run this using this command. Now make sure it's saved. Go back here, run it, and it's running on this particular location. I can go to here and try to see in Postman slash what was our API endpoint assistant post, and here it needs text, and I'll say how is the weather in Atlanta, send. So again, this will probably call the DeepSeek AI and then give us the response back here. It's not gonna read it out, but inside the application that you're running, you can actually add that. It says that as of my last update in July 2024, I don't have real-time access. So it's not updated since July 2024, so it doesn't have real-time data, which means we'll have to integrate it with an API. It says simply enter Atlanta zip code to get detailed information on temperature, humidity, wind. So it says that you can get this information from places, but it doesn't have access to it, which means we'll have to give it access to an API, but it does give me a good idea of how it should work. So I hope you were able to follow along and implement this. If you had any questions or had any problems implementing this, let me know in the messages. And first step, I've created a folder, project 8, and here I'm going to install my dependencies by saying pip install request and Gradio. That's all that I need. Once I have installed those, I'm going to go here to my project 8, new file, save this as legal underscore assistant.py. Now I have my legal assistant. My next step is let's import the library. So I'm going to go here, import request, import Gradio as gr, and I'll call the DeepSeek API URL, which is Olama URL equal to http localhost 11434 API generate, and not call. I'm going to define this here. Next, let's create some legal document templates. If we have some legal document templates, I can just use those here, saying legal templates equal to rental agreement. This is how a template look like for rental agreement. This is how a employment contract looks like, business partnership agreement, NDA. These are my different templates that are available. I can use them, or I can just have them available for my application. Next, I'm going to say generate legal contract. It will take doc type, party 1, party 2, second party, and duration and the salary. And this is the function that will generate the legal document. I'm going to say if doc underscore type not in legal templates, if it's not available, I'm going to say invalid doc type, please choose from rental agreement, employment contract, business partnership agreement, or NDA. Next, I'm going to say prompt legal templates doc type dot format. I'm going to format that properly, and then create my payload, and then get the response request.post Olama and pass the payload along. Next, I'm going to say if response equal to status code of 200, I'm going to return the response.json.get response, and or else I'll say no document generated. Else I'll say error and show the response.text. Next, let's test this legal assistant. I'll say name equal to main, print AI generated contract. I'll say generate legal contract, rental agreement between John Doe, Jane Smith, duration of 12. That's what I specified here. The rest can be as default. So save this or save that. Next, I'm going to go back here, and here I'm going to say Python, call my legal assistant, and run this. It's going to call that URL for DeepSeek AI and try to get me my legal template here. It took a few seconds, and then finally it created my legal contract. If you look at it, it's pretty awesome that it created everything from scratch. If you see here, it says it's thinking about it, it's adding everything, and then here is my rental agreement between John Doe and Jane Smith for a term of 12 months starting on particular date, end date, introduction, rental terms, rent, payment terms and fees. It's something in Chinese here. Responsibility of the tenant, responsibility of landlord, insurance, term termination, and then it kind of gave you the entire contract with the signatures of the two parties right over here. Perfect. Awesome. So I hope you were able to get this working. If not, let me know in the messages and I'll go here and we can, as usual, go at the bottom, comment this out and move this below here. And in here I'll create our Gradio interface. I'll say create Gradio interface equal to gr.interface. Function is generate legal document. Next, inputs equal to, I'll need a radio button, rental agreement, employment contract, business partnership agreement, NDA, what type of document it is. Next, text box, party 1 name, party 2 name. Next, another label or text box with label of duration if applicable in months. Next, we need salary if applicable per month. Again, these are the items that we have here. And then I'll close it and I'll say outputs gr.text box label generated legal document, and title is AI powered legal assistant, and description is select a document, enter party names and generate a professional legal contract. Close this and then I'll say launch the web app by saying if name equal to main interface launch. So that's pretty much it. That will create my web interface. So let's go ahead and run this. I'm going to go here, clear this out, run this now, and now I'll have a URL that I can open in a new tab, copy this, paste it here, my web application launches, and there you go. We have our, let's use the same things that we did in the previous example. I'll say rental agreement, party name 1 is, I'll say Vivian Arana, party name is John Doe, I'll say 24 months, salary I'll skip and I'll say submit. So it's processing now. After I press submit, let's see what happens next. It took a few seconds, but finally I have something similar as before, a generated legal document available to me right here. So perfect. So I hope it worked for you. If not, let me know in the messages and I'll get back to you. You can specify, in here where I'm generating a document, where I'm saying generate a rental agreement between, you can say generate a contract in a particular language here. So you can specify the language inside the prompt itself and it will provide you in a particular language. So as you see, party 1, party 2, I can also say generate a rental agreement here in, I'm going to kill this application right now, and then I'll say pip install what all libraries do we need? Fast API for creating a fast API, and then UVCon to run that API. So I'll install those. Once those are installed, I'm going to go here, create a new file, save it as app.py, and in here let me do a basic mockup. I'll say from fast API import request. I'll create the app using the fast API function. I'll say Olama URL, this is the URL that I need, and then I'll say the API is at legal, generate legal, this is the function that will be called with the text that is provided, and I'll say generate a legal document and the prompt that is assigned here, which I can kind of copy from here and use it, and then the response equal to request.get Olama JSON payload. Then that will return back response.json get response and no contracts generated if there was nothing given back. Again, to run this, let's go ahead and use this command and run this tool. It's running right now. It's available at this API. You can go ahead, open Postman, call this, say post slash our endpoint was legal. So I'm going to say legal here, and then it needs text. I can provide text here, and here I can just get something from here. Let's take a different contract here. I can add this here, generate an employment contract between, I'll say Vivian Arana, who's an employee, and let's say my LLC, which is the employer, with a salary of how many dollars? $1,123,123. Why not? Right, $1 million. Send, and now it will send to our API, which will send it to DeepSeek AI, which will create a contract between Vivian and my LLC company and then give me the contract here. I'll wait for a little bit. And there you go, it went ahead and created a contract for me. It took a little bit time, but as you can see, the entire contract is available here between Vivian and my LLC, which is the company, and I have all the information listed right here. Perfect. So I hope you were able to build this and get through it. If you had any issues or problems, let me know in the messages, and I'll get project 9 here, and I'm going to go inside that folder and make sure all my dependencies are installed first. Pip install request and Gradio. So I have that installed. Perfect. Next I'll go here to the project and right click on this and create a new file, and this new file I'll save it as symptom underscore checker.py. Perfect. So I've created that. Now let's go ahead and start coding. First I'm going to import request. Next I'm going to say import Gradio as gr. Next let's create our DeepSeek API URL, which is Olama URL http localhost 11434 API generate. Next I'm going to create a function which is analyze symptoms, which will analyze the symptoms based on the symptoms provided by the user. Next I'm going to say prompt equal to analyze the following symptoms and suggest possible health conditions, and the symptoms are, I'll pass the symptoms here to the prompt. Next I'm going to say provide a short list of possible causes and general advice, no treatment recommendations. Next I'm going to give the payload model of DeepSeek R1 prompt and stream equal to false. Close this and then call my get my response from calling request.post and pass the Olama URL that we created above, and I'll give this payload. Next I'm going to go ahead and check the response.status code. If it's equal to 200, I'll say return response.json get. If there's a response, I'll pass that response, or not, I'll say no information available. Else if there's an error, I'll say return error and I'll say response.text. Next let's test the medical symptom checker. If name equal to main, I'll say test symptoms equal to fever, cough and body aches, and print AI medical analysis. I'll say print analyze symptoms and pass these test symptoms to that. That's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and run the script. I'm going to go here and say Python symptom checker. It's going to go ahead and say AI medical analysis. Now it's going to go and ask DeepSeek AI about these symptoms, and let's see what it comes back with. It is always faster than going to an urgent care or a medical center or an ER. If you have some symptoms, you can just put in here and it will give you a good idea of what you have. Again, you can't trust the internet with all these things but there's so much data available right now. It's best to know if it's something serious. And there you go, we have some advice, we have some final note, further consideration. So here, symptoms analysis, based on that it says based on symptoms provided, possible health conditions, influenza, which is flu, pneumonia, COVID-19, allergies, respiratory tract infections. So these might be the causes. Advice is rest, hydration, pain relief. Further consideration, if experiencing severe symptoms like difficulty breathing, it's gonna ask you to do COVID test and stuff. Final note, the presence of these symptoms could indicate a viral infection, bacterial infection, or allergies. Consulting a healthcare professional is advised to confirm the cause and receive appropriate care. Perfect. So this, I'm going to clear it out, and I hope you are able to follow along and build this AI powered assistant that can analyze symptoms and provide general advice. Next, application here, comment this out and create the Gradio interface right here. I'll start with a comment saying create Gradio interface equal to gr.interface. Function that I need is that analyze symptoms, and inputs that gives this is text box, lines equal to placeholder is enter your symptoms, example fever, cough or sore throat. Output is gr text box, label possible conditions and advice, title is AI medical symptom checker, description is enter your symptoms and the AI will suggest possible causes and general advice. Close this, and if name equal to main, interface.launch. This will start our application. Go here and run this project, and once it gives you an URL, I can copy that go here and add it, and here I'll just add whatever I have here, say these, and say submit, and then it's going to go ahead and call the API and then give us the information back in few seconds. And there you go, it took a few seconds and we got all the solution right here inside this box, and you have data to kind of see what it does. It says important note, consult a healthcare professional for accurate results. That's good. So you always make sure that you have that disclaimer over there, even if it's not generated by AI. So there you go, we have our web application ready now. And for my prompt, can add it here, I'll say analyze the following symptoms and classify them as mild, moderate or severe. Right over here you can add this. I'm going to keep this here. So that's one option that you can do, where you can say mild, moderate or severe. So and AI will tell you how bad it is. I'll go here, oops, and add another prompt. This prompt says analyze symptoms in language and provide a response for the symptoms. So there you go, you can add a language as a parameter over there and then pass that along with this, and or you can add inside the web application a drop down box where user can select a particular language and pass that to analyze symptoms. And save this. These are commented perfect. I'm going to go back here, close this, clear it out, and here first install Fast API. If you don't have it, you can install Fast API, saying install Fast API. You've done so many projects by now. If you have followed along, you probably have both of these libraries. So perfect. Once that is done, next step is to, let's go ahead and create an app here, app.py file, and in here I'm gonna first go ahead and from Fast API import Fast API. I'm gonna import the request, say create the Fast API by saying app equal to Fast API, Olama URL, pass that, and I'll say post medical is my endpoint, analyze symptoms, and I'll pass the symptoms here. I'll say this is the payload, medical symptoms analysis. I've just made the prompt shorter here, but you can use the one that we have used here. Next, I'm going to say response equal to request.get. I'll pass the Olama URL and I'll pass the payload. Next, I'm going to say return response.json.get response, and if there's no response, I'll just say no information available. So that's our complete API. I'm going to go ahead and run it using this command. Save this file, go here, I'll say uvcon app reload. I'll run it, it will give me a place to call it. I'm going to go here and open Postman just to test this. Say post / it was medical, if I'm not wrong, right? Medical, yes. And I'll say that it needs symptoms, and the symptoms are fever and cough, and I can send. It's going to go ahead and call the API and give me the symptoms in here as the response for this. So there you go, our API is ready. I hope you were able to follow along and get to this point. If you had any issues or problems, let me know in the messages how it goes, or if you had any issues, and I'll get back to you. For now, let's wait for this response to come back. And there you go, we have the response back telling me what all different problems that I might have right here. So I hope you are able to recommend through the products using DeepSeek AI. I've already created the project 10 folder. Inside here, I'm going to go ahead and first pip install, if you have not done this before, request and Gradio. So those are the dependencies that we need, only 2 of them. Next, I'm going to go here, create a new file inside project 10, save this as product underscore recommender.py. I mean, you can name it whatever you want, but that's what I will name this file. Next, I'll go ahead and import request. Next, I'm going to say import Gradio as gr. Next, I'll create my DeepSeek API URL, which is Olama URL HTTP localhost 11434 API, and generate. Sample product data set. I'm going to create a sample product data set, name it product DB, and here I'll add laptops, smartphones, and headphones. So I'm going to say for laptop, I have Apple MacBook Air M2, Dell XPS 13, and Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Carbon. For smartphones, the options that I have is iPhone 14, Samsung Galaxy S23, Google Pixel 7. And for headphones, I have Sony WH, Bose Quiet Comfort, and Anker Soundcore. So I'm going to close that, close it, and then create my recommend product functions, which will take a query as the input, and this uses DeepSeek AI to analyze user intent and suggest relevant product. So I'm going to create a prompt here. Analyze the following user query and recommend the best matching products based on the query. And the available product categories are list from ProductDB. These are the different available options. Provide a list of top recommendations. That's what I'm asking. So yeah. Now payload is DeepSeek R1. Prompt is prompt, that is we created here. Stream is false. Now response equal to response.post Olama URL JSON payload. If response.status code equal to 200, I'll say AI response is response.get whatever the response is. If there's no response, I'll just say I'm sorry, I don't have recommendations for that. Now next, I'm going to go ahead and find the matching categories in the database. I'm going to look at my category in database. I'll check if category in query.lower, I'll say return join product database category, return the AI response, else I'll say return error response.text. Next, I'm going to say test recommend product recommender. If name equal to main, I'll say test query equal to recommend a good budget laptop. I'll say print AI recommendations is recommend products test query. That's what I'm saying here. And then that's pretty much our entire application that we have written. So let's go ahead and see if this recommend product gives us the right recommendation based on what we have specified here. So third step is to run the script. Make sure it's saved. Go back here and say Python product recommender and run this. This is going to call based on our query that we have, which is recommend a good budget laptop. It's going to go ahead and ask DeepSeek AI for the output. And there you go. Based on the query, it says Apple MacBook Air M2, Dell XPS 13, Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Carbon. So that's successful. Based on the data that we got, we probably prompted to based on the laptops that we have available in stock. Perfect. So that's how our product recommendation works. Go ahead and comment. Oops, I'm gonna fix this. Comment this out, and here I'll write the code. I'll start with the create Gradio interface as a comment. Interface equal to gr.interface. Function is recommend products. This function. I'll say input equal to text box placeholder. Ask for product recommendations. That's what I'll add here. That's the text box that user will enter the query. Next, I'm going to say outputs equal to text box recommend products. AI powered e-commerce recommendation bot. Description is enter your query and get AI generated product suggestions. Close this. Launch the web app by saying if name equal to main interface.launch. So perfect. That's all that we have to do. Let's go ahead and run the application. I'm going to clear this out, run it. It's going to give me a URL which I'll open in Chrome. So copy this, open a new tab, paste it and run it. So there you go. I can just say best smartphone in market. Submit. It's going to go and call the API and give me the responses soon. And there you go. Based on the response from DeepSeek AI and the database that we have, it says iPhone 14, Samsung Galaxy S3 or Google Pixel 7 are the recommended products that this system recommends to me. Perfect. That's here to our next step and change the prompt to something like this. Find the best category within the price and recommend the top products. That's the prompt that you can use for the price manipulation. By just creating another prompt here, I can just show you one more option. So prompt recommend product in language based on this query and then pass the language over here. So this is how you can have multiple language support. To go ahead and make sure it's saved, go back here, close this, start again. Let's say install. If you have not installed before, we would need fast API and we would need UVCon to run the server. I have that, so it installed quickly or didn't do anything. And next I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. I'll call it app.py, and inside here I'll use fast API to create API. So I'll say from fast API import fast API, import the request. I'll create an app for fast API. Olama URL is http://localhost 11434 API generate, and then my endpoint is to recommend. So I'll say create a function recommend products, and this is a post request. It will take a query string and then I'll say payload model DeepSeek R1 prompt recommend products based on the query, and say response request post Olama URL, and return response.json.get response. If no recommendation, then I'll say no recommendations available, unless here I am not using the database, so it will not give me the elements that I have in my database, but you can add that functionality here. I'm going to go ahead next, run this API. There you go, it's running on this particular URL. I can open Postman to test this out. I'll create a new one and I'll say it's a post URL, and my endpoint was recommend. Use that, and it needs query, so I'll say key value is query, and I'll say give what can I buy for $100 that's a good phone, and I can send this, and it will go to this API and give me some data based on DeepSeek AI's knowledge base that is there. I don't have a database that I've provided, so it's gonna give me its own list of items. And there you go, it took a few seconds and it gave me results based on my request. Google Pixel 6 Pro, Xiaomi Mi, so there's a bunch of different devices. I don't think they cost $100, but yep, they have been recommended here, and I don't want to read through the entire list. But again, the API was successful, and I hope you were able to follow along.